think it's tough enough to win one. We've done two, so you might as well go for three, right?
Our time, baby, back to back. That's how we do it.
What do you think of this team?
Unbelievable. Nobody can beat us. Back to back years.
It's so much fun to be a part of. The crowd can have an effect on teams. The emotions get turned up.
And then last year, they gave Vezina to somebody else. Number one bullshit. Oh, number one bullshit.
Here it is for you guys. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Thunder. We are here after another devastating Bolts loss. This time to the Carolina Hurricanes, 3-2. It's me, Shooter, with the stash, and we've also got Thomas Schooley here. We're going to break down the game. We're going to talk about the watch party on Saturday. We're going to talk about these trades, and we've also got the phone lines open, so look for that graphic at the bottom of the screen. You can call us 813-666-7701. Let's just go around real quick on thoughts on tonight's game. Definitely want to hear your thoughts in the chat as well.
Go ahead, Stash.
I'll start out by saying it probably isn't as bad as you might think, but we had the post or the crossbar from Stamkos early on, Cooch with the poster as well later on. So opportunities were kind of there, but anybody that thinks the blue line is the problem with our defense hasn't been watching the way the forwards are playing. It's the forwards are not playing good team defense right now. It's team defense that's lacking. It's not specifically the blue line. In fact, if you ask me, the blue line is playing fantastic hockey right now. Overall, those guys are playing at a high level. It's the rest of the team right now that I think isn't doing their job on the boards and down low in those possession battles. It was a good game. It was tight. Some ticky-tacky penalties again getting called on us. The guys got to be disciplined.
I don't usually complain about Coop. I think he's really a smart man, but I thought separating those two new guys and switching up the lines, I thought was stupid tonight. He's smart. He switches up the lines all the time. But if you remember 2 years ago when we got Coleman and Goody, they were on the same line together. You don't take the chemistry away from several different lines for the two new guys, especially when you just had Paul arrive into Carolina last night. They had no practice with him out whatsoever because they did not practice this morning. So, and you only had Hegel, 2 days?
2 games.
2 games, and who knows? They might have had only two skates between Saturday and today. If they're lucky, they might not even have had 2 skates. So
they had a skate yesterday in Brandon, and then he played in the game against the Rangers.
Yeah, but I don't know. He didn't skate for that because Foot was out there in his place.
Yep.
So he definitely only had the 1 game and the 1 practice. So.
Yeah, I think you leave them with Colton for that first game that they're all together, because the way it seems, that's what's going to be the third line. So I don't know why you mess up several different lines in the combinations. Tonight felt like a playoff game, and we've said that we don't think a team can last seven game series, but if they play like they do tonight, it won't go 7 games. We need to get that offense back and going. I'm hoping Cooch being pissed off might help the next game.
I disagree. A pissed off Cooch is an ineffective Cooch. That's all there is to it.
In the regular season, but then it comes playoffs, he ends up lighting it up. So
yeah,
I mean, we see he gets in his own head and that he's his own worst enemy. But the rest of the team got pissed off tonight too. So I'm hoping that comes into the next game.
I honestly, we'll let you run your down here, Shooter, but like I don't know what to do with Cooch right now. Like I feel like there's more than hockey going on, obviously, right? We can't ignore the elephant in the room right now with the Russian players, and maybe you give him a couple days off when you get home. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know. You gotta do something because he definitely is in his own head right now. That's clear. That's clear. I mean, that the shot he took off the post, that he buries that when he's on and his mind is right. That's right in. You know what I mean? That's not a post. That's a goal. So,
and that could have been the difference in the game with Killer getting that late goal. It could have been tied up, and Cooch normally scores on that, but tonight he was definitely a little bit off. So he had the 2 penalties. He had he whiffed in the first period on a 2-on-1 where I was happy he tried to shoot it, but he completely whiffed on it. And then he hit that post in the third period. And yeah, you could tell at the end of the game when he went after Aho, he was a bit frustrated. It looked like Aho just said, "Hey, good game." And Cooch did not think it was a good game.
I think that was a bullshit call at the end too. That's not interference. I'm sorry. You want to call it, if it's playoff game and it's playoff hockey, you want to call it like they were early on, like a playoff game. That's not interference, man. Those guys got there at the same time. Those guys are both trying to make a play. I don't think that's interference, man. But
yeah, it was really strange because in the first period, it seemed like they weren't calling anything. They just called that penalty where Point got cross-checked.
Which was, I thought, clear. It could have been interference or cross-check, as Ingblom said on the broadcast, and I thought it was going to be interference first, but
it looked more than
clearly had his hands spread, and they're trying to crack down or whatever, so that's what they called. But that was, to me, the only real legitimate penalty of the night, other than the too many men. And once again, to me, that just goes to show the forwards, they don't have their head in the game right now. They're not as mentally engaged as they have been. And maybe this is that too insane amount of hockey they played in the last year and a half finally catching up to them.
And I like how Emblem, because I see a lot of people bitch about Coop when it's too many men on the ice. And I like how he said, this has nothing to do with Coop. That was literally, they can't count.
Yeah. They weren't paying attention. They just were not paying attention.
And that can't happen because right before that, that's when that school bus line got caught out there for a minute and a half in their own zone. And it was almost like 4 straight minutes of power play time for Carolina. And Carolina is one of the top power play teams. And hey, they like to shoot the puck, which our team does not like to do right now on the power play, it seems like.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because coming on before, and just one last thing about this game. Finally, we start seeing the Lightning dominating in the faceoff circle, and then yet they get outshot 2-1. You know what I mean? Basically, like they, where's it at? I had the stats pulled up, and I changed.
They're on the bottom there.
But yeah, so I mean, it was our faceoffs we dominated them in the faceoff circle, but they 40 plus shots. They had over 20 shots in the second period, and I thought we did well with our faceoffs. You know what I mean in that area. So 62%. I mean, look at that. That's insane. But then 41 shots given up. So and the 29 shots is actually misleading because a lot of those shots, where there was 4 or 5 shots in the last minute or two, whenever they had the 4-on-4 with the goalie pulled. So like there was a couple extra shots on that then. So that to me, it's hard. It's hard to sit here. I'm not jumping off a bridge. I'm not panicking. I'm just frustrated. Like I told you guys coming on, I'm not scared. I'm just frustrated because I know they have better in them, and we just got to see them clicking. And School A, I at first was like, yeah, I like Coop. I like that he mixed up where the new guys were because he's kind of experimenting. That's kind of what he does. But I also thought, you know what, man, I think maybe he's just getting in his own head because everyone else is saying, "Oh, that's the new line," and so maybe he was trying to like outthink them or something. You know what I mean? Like he was trying to go full lawyer on their ass, be like, "Oh, I'm gonna be 2 steps ahead." They think this is the line that's gonna be. No, I'm gonna spread them out. So maybe that's a little bit what that was. But I do agree with you. Eventually, it looks like that third line or fourth line, however you want to rate them, is gonna have to be Hegel, Nick, and Colton. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And I think they're going to do well with each other. I
agree.
You know, we haven't talked about the trades, but I think they're going to be good together. I think him just getting to Carolina, I think I seen where he landed like at dinner time last night. So for him just to arrive, they said they weren't going to have practice this morning, which I say was stupid, but that's not my choice. No practice this morning. So you're going straight in with two guys that you just got, which, you know, we had the Coleman, we did it before, but you kept them on the same line. You didn't split them up. And going back to that too many men on ice, when I was looking at it and I rewinded it a couple times, it looks like it was the line combinations that did the too many ice because they saw the rest of their linemen out on there and forgot that they were not part of that line anymore. So, you know, I think there was a lot of confusion with the two new guys in there tonight, and I would expect it to get better. I would expect Coop to maybe limit to them to one line, and that's the lines he's going to stick with. But I mean, not just Cooch had a bad game. Stamkos didn't have a great game. Point's been kind of quiet for the last couple of games.
Palat can't buy a goal.
Palat can't get one. Killorn, he's got one, and I think he's the second leading scorer on the team now. So, you know, and even Hetty, Hetty wouldn't shoot the puck during that power play. He kept going for the shot and then would just pass it away. And, you know, 2 weeks ago, Hedman would have drilled that to the net, and hopefully someone swept it in. We couldn't buy anything in front of the net tonight until Killorn finally scored.
Yeah, and this is something I think that I've been talking about for a while, is that it seems like the Lightning don't like to play with the puck on their stick anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Like they skate into the zone, then they stop, and they immediately are looking to pass, and everyone wants to be standing still, and they're passing while everyone is standing still. You know how easy that is to defend? We're seeing it. We're seeing how easy it is to defend because we're not really getting quality chances because guys aren't really skating with the puck on their stick and maintaining that possession in the offensive zone and letting guys move around and create opportunities. If you just sit there and you stay where you are in a little 3 to 6 foot circle and you keep passing around and you're doing a weak cycle, it's easy to defend. You put man to man on that. You don't playing zone on that. You go up, you challenge them, and you don't let them get the pass off cleanly. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing deflected passes, deflected shots, because we're standing still and trying to make the pass instead of skating and then drawing people to you and then getting the puck to somebody else that doesn't have anybody on them. They don't want to play hockey like that right now.
And the difference I've seen in the past is that we're letting the Stars beat us, the Stars of those teams. We used to shut down the Stars, and that's how Nate just got a name for himself, was because he was the Lightning killer. But you have Aho and you have Trocheck, who's both scored against us. And those are the big names. Those are guys that Tampa always shut down before. And you had to get the Nachos. You had to get the Fasts. Those are the guys that had to beat Tampa. And so seeing that now it's the Stars, and it's been this almost the last couple of games, you're having the big names beat us that used to be the no-namers were the ones that won the games for the other teams. We got to get back to covering those Stars for the teams.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well,
so it started off. So the lines you guys were saying, they started off Hegel, Point, Palat, Stamkos, Killer, Cooch, Colton, Sorelli, Paul. By the end of the game, I couldn't really keep track of what was going on. Like what was like towards the end of the game, it was what?
Either. I was gonna say I think Coop just was playing Yahtzee.
Right, you three. Hit the first 3 over, you're out. I don't know.
Whoever wants to go now, go.
I do think they switched it up, and didn't they move I thought they moved Sorelli. Maybe not. I don't. I thought they moved Sorelli.
Sorelli, Point, Hegel, I think ended up being on the same line. I think they're still trying to figure that out. The most concerning thing to me was you brought in 2 guys and you got rid of some guys that played on your penalty kill. In the last 2 games, your penalty kill has not played well. I mean, and you've also played against a really good team tonight with a good power play. But, is Nick Paul and is Brandon Hegel going to be able to kind of fill the shoes of Matty Joe?
I think they can.
Again, no work. They haven't had any practice to know exactly. Yeah.
They did not practice today. That's right. Yeah. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, because it's the special teams. I feel like that's killing them right now. Giving up a lot of, power plays, giving up a lot of power play goals. And then our power play hasn't really exactly been getting it done for the last couple weeks.
Right. And I will say, if there's a positive, that killer goal, you look at that basically as a power play goal, right? It's a 5-on-4, right? Yeah. So I would say that was a nice spot to see. And then, speaking of the trades, I thought both Hegel and the Bagel and Paulie had great games. I thought they both played really, really well. Hegel was a shining star as far as I was concerned tonight. Every time he was on the ice, he was making great plays. He was on the puck. If he had any support, I think that line, he probably would have scored a point tonight, honestly, if he would have had any support, because he was making the plays. There's no one there to support him. And we already saw clearly there's a little bit of chemistry right away from Colton and Paulie Boy. So with him getting his goal right away. So I think these moves are good. I think they're under the radar for sure. If you look at all the articles that are out there about winners and losers at the trade deadline, the Lightning are in neither conversation. And as far as I'm concerned, let's keep doing that. You know what I mean?
I saw them on TSN's. They were top 5 for TSN.
Yeah.
For winners. And that was, they said, even after Hegel, they said it was top 5, but then picking up Paul, they thought that really secured it, that they showed they weren't ready to lay down yet.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw people giving them a winning grade, but when it was like, who are the biggest winners, who are the biggest losers, we were in the middle. And again, like I said, I think the Hegel trade is severely underrated, especially with the fact that he has 2 more years at $1.5 million as a cap hit, and then he's an RFA without arbitration, so that's basically 2 more years of control after that. So we basically have him locked, a decent ability to maintain him for the next 5 years. So if he develops even halfway as well as he is right now with 20 plus goals,
I was gonna say, as soon as he came on our roster, he was the 4th leading scorer.
Third goal scorer. Yeah, 3rd in goals, and 4th or 5th in assists.
I think 4th in points. Yeah. So I mean, it was definitely an upgrade there. People are complaining the 1st-round picks. We don't do good with 1st-round picks, especially because they're usually late.
Exactly.
So I think we have on our roster right now. What do we have? 2 1st-round picks, right?
That's it.
Stamkos and
3.
Well, Stamkos, Vasi, Hedman.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I thought Foot was a 1st-round pick too, isn't he, or is he a 2nd round?
Who?
Foot.
Foot was second. Oh.
Second. I think he was.
One of them was 2nd. The other one was 1st.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Kyle or if it was. Yeah, but anyways, I know he was drafted. That's the only 2 drafted defensemen we have are Hedman and Foot right now. So
he was 1st round, selected 14th overall.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Which again, we maintained him, and a lot of people were saying that they were going to have to give him up to get something in return, and people were even willing to give him up to get some kind of weak defense blue line veteran who we don't need. We don't need a blue line veteran. We have the veteran blue liners that anyone else is desperate to find. They were on our team. That's why there was no big trades for those guys. We already have them.
Well, I heard from a pretty good source he was involved in 2 potential trades that did not go through. One that involved Killorn and one that involved Palat. And neither one of them went through.
Well, a lot of that has to do with their NMCs, and which funny because someone mentioned early on about was it race fans Racist Fans Rock was talking about the Vegas trade and how they screwed the pooch, but I think that's on the NHL. And if I'm Vegas, I'm pissed because Vegas didn't get the list. Vegas didn't get the no trade list, and so it's interesting to see what's going to happen there. Because for those of you who don't know,
how do you not ask the player knowing he has that on his?
Well, that's true as well.
I mean,
you could go to the guy.
You have to know who has trade clause, who has modified clause, who has no move clauses. I mean, it's cat friendly has it. You can very easily
right. That's fair.
Had it on there, so
That's fair.
For cap friendly to have it and the GM not to know is kind of stupid.
Well, and you got to when you make the move for that guy last year, you got to at least know, hey, you got to ask right away. Okay, what's the list then? Right. Okay, potentially. You're here. You've got a clause. I want to know everybody's list at the beginning of every season, no matter what, right? And honestly, that was kind of eye-opening for me because I didn't realize that list has to be submitted before the season. It's not like, oh, we're gonna trade you. Give me your list then.
And then they get to pick all playoff teams,
right? Exactly. It has to be. Which that's what I was like, dude. If I had a 10-team, or 20-team no move, just take the 10 worst teams and put them at the top of your list or whatever at the bottom, and then any playoff teams potentially, they don't want to move you to a playoff team,
Right.
So, but anyways, I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that, or I forgot it if I did know. So, but yeah, they tried to pull some shenanigans with their LTIR and they got it kind of screwed with it. And as soon as somebody comes back, they're going to have to play. They're going to have to get paid and something's going to happen.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to get re-injured. The front office is hoping somebody gets injured on that ice.
Are you sure you're healthy, Mark? Oh, come on, Stone. Are you sure? Didn't you tweak your back after the
cut in the face?
Right? Didn't you tweak your back during rehab? Come on, man. Just 2 more weeks, right?
They're praying for an injury over there.
Yeah. Well, and if we speaking of injuries, we look down south, to Florida, and that Ekblad injury is a big deal. Right. Yeah. Like he's not out, but they're saying first round win in the first round. Is he back? And they made moves. They made some moves, but I don't think they made super competitive moves. I don't think their defense got that much better. I think Sherratt is a little overrated. He was on a really bad Montreal team that got lucky and went on a long run and then got smacked as soon as they played a real team out of the East. And Claude Giroux, lightning killer. We've talked about it. That guy is a crusher for the Lightning. We talked about last week, but I still don't know that that's the guy that makes you that much more dangerous in the playoffs. It's not about scoring goals. It's about, playing team defense and about being able to play physical and being able to play gritty. And I think that's what Florida's been lacking the last 2 seasons, and I still think they're lacking that a little bit. And I think Colorado, the same thing. They went out and made some moves and got faster, but they didn't really get grittier, and that's the thing that keeps them from going deep. So Minnesota, picking up Fleury, that's a great play. That's a great trade. That's probably the win of the trade deadline, if you ask me. How Toronto didn't make that move. We were on Peter Blake's show last night at the Sports Web. Shooter and I were. Thomas Schooley commenting. I swore you worked late on Mondays, and it was a last second thing. But
I usually do.
That's why I thought so. But anyways, we were talking about it, and it's interesting to see how these teams made moves. Well, I thought trying to catch up to Lightning. Then the Lightning then JBB went out and made some stellar moves as far as work concerned and what we have to work with. And I still think that the rest of the league's kind of trying to play catch up. We went out and got 2 glue guys, both guys. And I went right away, started doing my due diligence on these new guys. The thing I saw from both of those franchises, whether it be the fans or the coaches or the analysts, both of those guys are referred to as Swiss Army knives and glue guys. Okay. They're both glue guys and they're both Swiss Army knives. And when it comes to the playoffs and you're trying to make a run, those are the guys that you're trying to add, not fast guys, not speedy playmakers. You should already have those guys on your team. You should be looking for those guys that are going to go out and do their job every single night, no matter what. You don't even got to ask, hey, is that guy ready? You just know that guy's ready. I
asked you guys last night if you guys thought the moves by Florida. Carolina picked one up at the end. Domi, of course, he didn't play tonight. Then the Rangers picked up a couple people. Washington picked up a couple. I know, Shooter, last night you were saying how you thought Washington kind of really beefed up themselves. And did that tie JBB's hand to make moves? One of the trades that I was told was the Killorn and Foot was going to be for Giroux in Philly, but he thought it was going to be too much of an asking price because there's also draft picks involved in that. So he said no to that, and then that's when it ended up going to Florida. You know, there had been rumors for weeks that Claude was coming down here. Giroux was coming here.
Yeah,
and I heard that was an ongoing talk, but that ended up not going in, and they went with Florida.
That's interesting because I read the article this morning, I think actually the first thing this morning, where Giroux was saying that basically for a while he knew that it was going to be Florida. Like he was preparing himself coming into the last year of his contract, knowing he was really going to get re-signed. Yeah, and see April here in the comments is saying the same thing. He only wanted to go to Florida specifically.
Yeah,
that's what I heard as well. I didn't, you know, so that's interesting to me to see that there was even. And maybe that was Philly, not, you know, just trying to see what they could get for him and shop him around and see, and then they could go to him and see what he would say about it. But because didn't he have a full no move clause? I thought
he did. He was going to have to waive it for anybody.
Yeah, right. So he got final say on where he went. Right. So that's news to me. And I'm also really surprised that, like, I could see people wanting Killorn. I'm not surprised that JBB thinks that giving up Killorn is too much, you know, especially with Palat. Like that's crazy to me. So, yeah, good to hear that JBB isn't crazy like maybe some other GMs north of the border or, you know, out
now,
west.
what was the other Foot rumor that was coming down? It was for another defenseman, but I can't remember who it was.
You hear a lot more rumors than I do because I didn't really hear any of those. So
there was one that April might know. Although she's in mourning right now because unfortunately we did get rid of Matty Joe.
Oh yeah.
But
Another one of those that I'll not stop seeing for the next 2 years in the Facebook groups about, oh, now he's wearing this stuff, or now he scored a goal, now he's getting married, now he blah blah. Like we're gonna know everything about Matty Joe, so don't worry, April. You won't lose him. He will still be here no matter what uniform he's wearing. He'll still be in all of the group posts. Don't worry about it.
Now, hey, I think we went that way with Vinny LeCavier. I mean, Facebook wasn't around when he first left, but when he was finished his career in Philly and Kings, it was kind of all over the place.
Well, I will say, I mean, there's a difference between
I was going to say,
Joseph
you can't really compare.
Vincent fucking LeCavier. Is there a Matthew Joseph's Children's Hospital?
Actually,
no,
not yet.
There's not.
Actually, though, they have won 2 Stanley Cups where Vinny's only won 1.
Hey, I'm not going to say anything about the production. All right.
Matty Joe barely played in 2020. I think a lot of people forget he couldn't crack the lineup in 2020. He did play last year when they won it, but
I think Stamkos played more in the playoffs of 2020 20 than Matty Joe did. Come on. No, but I'm just like, again, if Killer would have been gone at this trade deadline, I would have been the Matty Joe people. I'm not gonna lie, I would have been heartbroken if Killorn was a piece that was moved during this place, but I wouldn't be on the message boards or on the Facebook people groups sharing his bowel movements or what he had for dinner or the fact that he bought a new handbag for his wife. I don't know. Like, that's not the shit I would be doing. I'd be like, okay, good job. If I saw his highlights, I would cheer for him. I probably would tune in and watch the games of the team he played, but I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, I'm not.
Well, the other team that is now kind of like Bolts North or Bolts Central is going to be Chicago now, right? They have a whole line of Bolts players.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, Kevin Callan on the chat coming through. Had a nice breakaway on construction of Matty Joe Hospital, but didn't finish.
That's why he was traded, and that's why I mean they also talked about his contract situation too, where they weren't going to be able to bring him back probably next year. So,
and April was on it. Joseph was only on the tactics squad in 2020, so I was right. Even Stamkos played more minutes.
The love with Joseph was he was all for diversity. So
I love that guy. I'm not talking.
Yeah.
Listen, and honestly, as much as Yanni was a fan favorite, I love Matty Joe way more personally. I was much more into what Matty Joe was about. The way he engaged with the fans and the community. It seemed like Yanni was like had a great Stanley Cup celebration, and everyone fell in love with him, right?
But well,
Matty Joe.
I say those two had affection smiles. Like
That's true.
They lit up a room anytime they smiled. Either one of those players, and they literally were. Matty Joe could be having a horrible night, but then you just see him. And same with Yanni. You punch somebody in the face and just smile about it, or get punched in the face and just smile about it.
Yeah,
And
neither
I
one of
think-
those guys ever had a bad night, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like,
I think,
like mentally. Yeah.
and I think a lot of people with diversity, they feel like they lost that player. JT Brown was the last one that I can really think of that was here that really was diversity driven and reached out to the fans as that type of person. And Strawman was also kind of like that. That's why he was a fan favorite. But the next one that was Matty Joe. And the Lightning kind of need that because I think those people build in the community and build the great fans. I mean, Matty Joe was never a great player, but the reason why he had so many fans was because of the affection that he had and the diversity that he had and just the way he carried himself around town and everything else. So, and I just don't, the Lightning, from what I see on the team and the players that I've met, don't really have that. Pointer has a chance to be that, but he's too shy and he likes to be in the back. So I don't know who that next player is that needs to grab like Matty Joe did, like a Yanni Gourde, like a Strawman did. And it'd be interesting who the next one is.
I could see the boss being that guy.
Yeah, I could
really
see
do.
that, but he needs to be more out. Like,
You know what I think it is, and this is Ingblom. And again, people talk shit about Ingblom all the time. I think they're insane. He is an amazing hockey mind and a great commentator. And I think he had a great insight in the game about how Kachuk and Radish kind of got overwhelmed by the talent. It was almost like big kids, bright lights. You know, country kids, city lights, whatever it was. They got enamored and a little intimidated by the talent they played with. Neither one of them stepped up and took advantage of the ability to win that spot on the line, right? It kept flip-flopping back and forth, you know, and I think Colton needs guys on his line that give him the confidence to keep, because I know he has the confidence. He just needs confident guys with him. You know
the
what I mean?
maturity. I think
Right.
the maturity, because
That too. It's just that whole thing to give him the ability to make plays. And that's why I say that if they can get Hegel and Paul and Colton on this line together over the next 20 games and really get some chemistry, I think that Hegel, Paul are going to be good puck possession guys, and they'll create opportunities for Colton to be dynamic.
because
And
I think that's what
Go ahead.
made I think Point become a man and a better player was because he wasn't playing with he automatically just started getting the goals, and then they started putting them with these superstars and putting them with the veterans, and he had veteran presence and leadership. It's different just to have it in the locker room than also play with it, because you even saw when Cooch whipped on that, him and Stammer were sitting there watching the video. That's what you need. You need not three young guns sitting there just staring at an iPad saying, "Oh, this is what wrong," or you dumb fuck, you whipped on it. Where you need
that's what would happen if the three of us were on a line. The three of us played a hockey line. That's what it would be.
But you need the veteran presence to be there and be like, "This is what went wrong. This is this." And I think that's what happened to Point. You saw the growing up on him. You saw the growing up on Gourde. And I think it was just the veteran presence that they got with them, and I think that's could help Colton a lot.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the schoolie bus.
It's a short bus.
I love it. Damn it. Schoolie stole my thunder. That's 2 stars for Kevin Cowan. The rest of you are slacking tonight, I want to say in the comments. Kevin Cowan coming hot as usual. I will say this right now, man. I'm excited at the possibility. Okay, and this is me. I would love to see a permanent way to get Kucherov and Stamkos on the line together. You know, I know that Kucherov and Point are dynamic together and all, but there's something about Kucherov and Stammer that reminds me of that early St. Louis Stamkos vibe. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's just me. Maybe you don't know what I mean. But for me, there's a vibe there. And you put Killer, and you keep Killer on the other wing. And if you put Stamkos in the middle with Kucherov and Killer in the playoffs, and you're able to get maybe a Palat, Point, Hegel on that top line, and then maybe Sorelli is the one centering that third line with Paul and Colton. I don't know, but like, if there's a way to make that line a reality going into the playoffs, there's just something I feel like, I don't know, it's tingling on the back of my neck. It makes me like, ooh, that could be special. That's just me. I don't know.
Well, hey, let's pause there because I'm going to put in the chat the link to Saturday's event.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to come get loose with us, we're going to be celebrating.
That's right.
We have a 100th episode that's going to be happening next week in Saturday when Lightning play the Red Wings at what time is that? 12:30 puck drop?
Yeah, puck drop 12:30. I have the meetup set at noon. Have everyone get there about noon so we can all get settled in, get some beverages ordered, maybe some food, whatnot. There'll be a few giveaways. Already we've announced that there'll be 2 tickets to the April 9th game, correct, Thomas Schooley? April 9th?
I got to see what game it is, but
Okay.
it will be a game in April.
Okay, so we'll have 2 tickets to a home game in April to give away. We'll have a Letty dressing package from our sponsors, as you see. And breaking here tonight, if you're watching live, you're the first one to find this out. Thomas Schooley also will be providing an autographed puck from one of the Lightning players or greats, one of the legends or players, someone that is associated with the Lightning, and you're really going to want to be there if you're a puck collector. Okay.
Also breaking tonight, I'm going to sign this bottle of shampoo.
No, we're not doing that because we're going to lose value. We've already established that
it.
we lose 35% value off the top, and then we also know that now you've been touching it too much. I didn't want to see people touching it on screen. Now I'm nervous.
We have to pay someone to take it now.
Yeah, now we're gonna have to like convince somebody. No, but
Listen.
in all seriousness, fans and folks and friends, we had a great time in Nashville. We talked about this coming off of that trip. We wanted to do something Saturday, 12 o'clock, Butters Burgers, downtown on Ashley Drive, right across from Sims Park, right? And that area, there's a parking lot, there's a parking garage, there's plenty of parking right there, street parking as well. It's noon on a Saturday, so usually you could get down there around that time and you shouldn't have any troubles parking in Tampa at that point. And yeah, we're going to just have a lot of people live in person. And I want you guys to pack it. The Lightning had a watch party in America Social tonight by the actual Lightning sponsored official Lightning watch party. And Kim Ricci, who was the Queen of Boltsville, on location doing some recon for us, and she said it was just okay. A lot of people left early before the second period was even over. And the game was still really good then. So that's kind of crazy. But Thomas Schooley was telling us before the game or before the show that was his not a favorite place for him to watch games because it turns over to a nightclub late. So, and overall, he said, and Kim Ricci here as well is saying that it's not just a very good place for a watch party in general. So that is what they did. What we want to do is something bigger. Just to be frank, we want to do a fan thing, and we want to and have us out there and show out that a fan-led meetup can really generate
and there we go.
Interest.
Steve Mendingo also donating 3 tickets to a game.
Well, there you go. So we will have 2 sets of tickets to give away for this watch party on Saturday. Thank you, Steve. Man, you're what a great. This is it. Let's take a little second here. This is why we're doing this watch party, right? Because we are, as we've said, coming into our 100th episode, a podcast for the fans by the fans, and it's all about the fan community here on Shooter / We the Thunder, Thomas Schooley, Thunderbolts. That's what it's all about. It's all about the fan community, and it's a beautiful thing to see us all come together here. So, unfortunately, we see our friend Sarah Beardall, she's not gonna be able to make it now. That's
So
but
just leave the kids there. Just take. They got triple header. That means they'll be there all day. Drop them off at the 9 o'clock game. Head down. And
come on, you don't got a soccer moms union? You got some soccer mom friends that'll be like, hey, we got it. Leave some orange slices and some high C. We'll take care of them. We'll take them home for you. We know the watch party.
You don't need to see them. It's okay.
Yeah, we all need a break, right? Meanwhile, my son turned. Meanwhile, speaking of children, little toast for little Stash turned 6 today. So that's crazy. I now have a 6-year-old son. Man, time flies.
Stash had sex once. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about these trades, and we'll get out of here. Not much else on tonight's game. We've talked about the big one was really that Brandon Hegel trade. Left wing from Chicago, 23 years old, 37 points in 56 games before he came here, and we unloaded a lot for him. But as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, you have to pay the price to get a guy that's on a longer contract as he is, and a guy who's showing the trajectory that he is showing at his young age. He's a better player right now than both Taylor Radish and Boris Tkachuk, who both got shipped to Chicago, as well as 2 first-round picks. He's better than those 2 first-round picks because technically they don't exist.
Exactly.
So what do you guys think of that trade? Obviously, he's had 2 games to play. He looks good. He plays the part of kind of that like scrappy Gord guy, that third line that we're trying to replace. So I'm pretty happy with it. And, I think the thing we all need to realize is the Bolts are all in now. Next year, it's just going to get harder with salary cap. The following year, it's going to get harder. So their best chance to win is right now. And I think that's why you see them really kind of making the moves to try to do it this year, because that third line, that kid line, they had a couple flashes early in the season, but it's not been enough. It really hasn't. So that's why I think JBB is making these moves.
Yeah, it was when they were playing together. I said that earlier. Those 2 guys, Radish and Tkachuk, they showed out early on when there was injuries, when Cooch and Plot were both out and they had to play together. That's when they were looking really good. It's whenever they were playing 1-1 and swapping that third spot on that line with Colton and Joseph that they started to really diminish and not have as much confidence. So if you're fans of Ketchup and Ratty, then I think you're happy that they went to Chicago, because most likely they'll end up on a line together and then they'll have way more minutes and way more opportunities. So sure,
scored on his first night playing.
And there you go. Yeah, and you're right. He did have a goal right away. So and sure, there's probably going to be those for Hagius or there's Marcia Saltis out there saying, oh, look, we traded him and look how good he's doing. They never would have done that good here because they never would have cracked the top 6. That's all there is to it. Maybe Marshy would have eventually, but I don't think Verhaeghe would still be in the top 6 role with this team right now. So you can't sit here and be like, oh, look what they're doing now. They wouldn't have that opportunity here. And you're right, man. This Hegel, he checks a lot of boxes. He brings in value. He brings in term. And he brings in the ability to play up and down the line. And I'm doing some quick math here. The Lightning are going to be lucky to have $2.5 million next year. That's with Palat gone. After points contract kicks in, they're going to have a backup goalie. Nick Paul is going to they're going to have to replace the spot that Nick Paul is going to take, because Matty Joseph wouldn't have been here last year or next year either. That's the other thing. The Matt Joseph trade for Nick Paul, basically JBB came out and said that was a UFA for UFA because Matt Joseph is now in the second RFA, had arbitration rights, and they didn't think there was any way they would have been able to match what he would have won in arbitration. So they were going to lose him anyways. So that's what we're looking at. Maybe $2.5 million, and that we're probably looking at a flat cap again. Maybe hopefully next year, I think the cap will finally go up. I really do. I think the cap will go up to even just $1 million, $1.5 million, something like that. We'll finally see some movement in the cap, but it's going to be another flat cap. So yeah, I think that move for Hegel was really a genius move.
And that only gives us now 2 UFAs after this season, besides Paul.
Ruda. Right.
Palat and Ruda.
Palat and Ruda.
And then Elliott, backup.
Well, and Elliott are backup, right? That's what I was saying. So, and Palat basically gets replaced by Hegel, probably, or Colton. That's what I'm saying. Either Hegel or Colton moves up to that top line next year, and then you're looking to fill one hole, and maybe ABB is the guy that comes in because I think he's still on a fairly friendly contract for one more season, and maybe he's the guy that could step up and finally not have to compete with two other guys like a Radish and a Kachuk, and he can finally get that solo time that I think he really could have benefited from this year. So, yeah, this is all prognostication and whatnot, thinking ahead. But I think the moves they made right now are good for now, and they're good for the next couple of years. I don't think this is the window closing this year, by the way, for the Lightning. No, yes, they're going to be up against it, but you still have Stamkos for 2 seasons, 3 seasons after this, 2 more seasons after this, and then Hedman for 3 seasons after this. And you've got, I'm not even, no, get that off my screen. Get that off my screen. At least, hey, good job by calling him Rutu. Cam's finally catching on. I will say that. You called him Rutu. So anyways, but yeah, man, she threw me off because she always does with the Rutu stuff. But
what about Nick Paul? 6'3", 225. Wait, we got to show that goal from tonight,
225? Right? I think it was like 210, but still, yeah.
No, he might be really 210, but they say 225. Like Tyler Johnson was 5'11", right? Sure. All right, so we got to show this at least one highlight from tonight with the goal from the new guy, Nick Paul.
Great play.
Let's pull that sucker up here. Maybe we'll even get sound today. So let's go full screen here, and beautiful goal here.
Center of the middle of the ice, leads it for Colton, back to Paul, he scores! Nick Paul in his Lightning debut.
So a little size and skill there with Nick Paul.
Chemistry right away, though. He made the right play there. Again, if you're watching the game, Engblom made a great commentary there where he gained the blue line, pushed the defense back, dropped it back to Colton, and then after that, the defense has to make a decision. Colton already knew what he was going to do right away. It was a give and go, Great play.
Yeah, and we don't score enough goals like that lately.
No,
the deflections, the tips, stuff like that. It's at the end of that second period tonight when we got the power play, it was pass, 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 horn sounds for the end of the period. Yeah. And that's not how you do it, Bolts. Well, it's not how you do it. A horrible second period, by the way. Outshot 20-10.
Yeah, and again, go ahead.
I just wanted to read these. If you guys are Twitter, first follow Shooter there at We the Thunder Pod. But if you don't follow Gabby Shirley, she gives a lot of good content. So
I remember her last name. I don't know why. Shirley, I'll remember it next time. And now I will. Now I will.
We got to get her to come on the show.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Let's get out to our boy, our guy Jay. They do a thing every couple weeks together.
Cooper on finding the right roles for the new players. This happens every trade deadline. As a coach and staff, you have to kind of integrate them. The players, their heads are spinning. They don't even know where they're going to live. They've been uprooted from where they were. It takes time for this to happen, and I'm glad Paul got on the board. That's kind of what you want to do, but it takes time. The past trades we've made, it took us a month for things to kind of fall into place, so we are not worried about that. And then she asked, what changed from the first period to the second period? He said penalties. We took a bad too many men there, and then we took another one and gave them a couple goals like that, and then you got momentum off that. Then probably we got away from the game plan. We start taking pucks backwards where you really can't do that against these guys, and we paid for it. And his last quote was, John Cooper on the loss, his second straight loss for the Bolts. I like the Rangers game. It was probably more like a complete game than this one. We had a good first, a decent third, but the second kind of sucked the momentum from us. We got to be better. They're a good team.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same stuff from Coop. I mean, that's what you're going to get. Game in, game out, win, loss. That's what I love about him. He doesn't panic. He doesn't overreact. He trusts his guys. He's seen what they can do. And he's right. I mean, sure, we could sit here and be critical about how he made the lineups and all that stuff, but we're not there. We're not the guy. Like, we didn't just move all the way across the country. Like, how far are these guys coming from? Chicago, Ottawa.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't get much further than that. You know, maybe if they're coming from Vancouver, that's about as far as you can get from Tampa. But there's a lot going on here. So it's going to take, like I said, it's going to take 20 games. It's going to take the rest of this regular season for those guys to find their groove.
And honestly, I thought the biggest winner of the trade was Seattle.
Oh, well, yeah. Going forward. The only thing is that I saw someone else was talking about this on NHL Network. He was part of the Lightning for a little while. I always forget his name. But he was even talking about how they could have done a better job in the expansion draft of making sure they got someone that was worth a first-round pick, but because they got no first-round picks because they didn't quite have somebody that was first-round pick echelon. So, like, maybe that was a miss in the expansion draft.
They missed a lot. I mean, they had Carey Price they could have had.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tarasenko.
Well, and honestly, I will say though, Grubauer could have been a guy that would have been a first round pick if they weren't so terrible and didn't make him look really bad.
Well, that's what you see with Anderson in Carolina now. I mean, look what happens.
Look how much better he is.
In front of you.
And once again, I got to give a shout out again. We got to get Randorf on here again, and maybe we got to get him to convince even Ingblom to come on the show with this because I just got to give it up. Those guys are on top of it, man. Especially Ingblom. That guy, he calls these things out all the time. You know, people give him a hard time, but that guy sees a lot of things that I don't think enough people give him credit for. You know, so. But yeah, I think Seattle did a great job. They got 4 or 5 second-round picks, a couple of third-round picks, a couple of fourth-round picks.
They have more. They have more draft picks than they have people on under contract.
Yeah. So, but it looks like they think they only have and they also quit like $8.5 million extra in cap space as well. Mm-hmm. So I know they weren't at the top. I know they weren't even close to the top.
Yanni could be their next captain.
And I was just waiting for someone to bring up Yanni. I'm surprised it took more than 2 minutes since we brought up Seattle, but yes. And honestly, you could do worse. You could do worse than making him your captain and building your core around a guy that was here for back-to-back cups, right? You could do a lot worse. So
it never gives up.
Well, and we talked about that. The infectious personality.
Yeah.
He's a guy that the more he's exposed to the fans, the more they like him, and the more he, finds that camaraderie. So, and Seattle might be a little bit of a pretentious town, but when it comes to their sports, they're fairly blue collar, and they really like the blue collar guys. So, that's why it makes sense to have hockey there, and that's why it makes sense to have Yanni there. Well,
guys, let's not forget the final trade of note,
perhaps the biggest move the Lightning made.
There's got to be one person out there, because this was like during the window that they had the Stadium Series jerseys. One person might have bought a Riley Nash Stadium Series jersey. I want to find that person and shake their hand, because Riley Nash is back.
It's up for sale. I just saw someone had it up for sale.
Really? See, he was on the team when they went for sale. For that brief, 2 weeks stint with the Bolts before he got claimed off of waivers. But Riley Nash is back for future considerations. So he will fit in if there's any injuries. Veteran guy that can come in.
He went straight to the
play center.
AHL so that he could qualify for the playoffs. They had to have him on roster that day to be in the AHL playoffs. So he went straight to the Syracuse Crunch on at least paper. So that he could qualify for the playoffs, for the AHL playoffs. If
and salary as well, right? Salary cap reasons as well. So I do think that that's a guy that's probably going to finish the season in Syracuse and then be on the postseason roster
and be on the Black Aces. Yeah,
for sure. He'll be there ready to go. And it, who knows? I mean, because I'll tell you right now, I was even watching the game tonight, and the guy that I'm becoming less impressed with is the guy that you expected, Scully, to be a breakout guy, and that's Belmar.
Yeah,
I'm becoming less and less impressed with him.
And tonight when I was thinking, I was like, oh, I don't like. I would have liked to see him on a different line. You know, if you're going to split up the lines, put Bellemare up there because he's a fast guy and he's a tough guy.
Well, and that's a really good observation because I wonder what Nick Paul would do on that line with Perry and
that's what I thought. They're big
Maroon.
guys. They seem tough. Put him on that line and put a Bellemare up there with Hegel and Colton and see if that lights it up.
Yeah. But anyways, that's definitely that was the one. Like, hey, I think he's not. But again, Palat's been slumping until tonight. Killorn had been slumping. There's a few guys that aren't Point not doing what he should be doing. Cooch not doing what he should be doing. Ricci saying, Queen of Boltsville saying that Maroon looked extra slow tonight. Well, that's because that they got matched. They got outmatched. Coop got outmatched on that line, and they were playing the line they probably shouldn't have been playing. So that whole line looks slow. Perry looks slow. Belmar looks slow. Maroon. They had a couple of decent shifts, but for the most part, they got pinned in their own zone, which is unlike them. Very much out of character for that line.
Plus, big day at Valspar on Sunday. It seemed like for the boys. I saw a lot of people posting pictures with the team.
People think Matty Joe actually got the trade call at the Valspar. So
he might have.
Yeah,
he might have.
I'm pretty sure he's there with the boys. So
all right. So I got one more question for you guys. I did a little bit of research over the last 10 games on the Pop-Tart Bites frosted strawberry flavor, and they're delicious. The last 10 games, Bolts penalties. So 10 games ago, we played Pittsburgh. Coop got kicked out of the game. We lost that game. Since then, Stash and I noticed we seem to be getting a lot of penalties. Now, I'll let you guys take a stab at this. Out of those last 10 games, how many of those games did the Bolts get more power play chances than their opponent?
Out of 10?
Yes.
4.
4 is incorrect. Thomas Schooley?
What was the question? Sorry, someone was asking me
Eat your
what time
Pop-Tart, Schooley. Just eat your
Someone
Pop-Tart.
was asking me what time the watch party was.
Right. Are you kidding me?
Espo's pissed at you.
That's
Schooley.
it?
All right. So the question was, out of the last 10 games, how many times have the Bolts gotten more power play opportunities than the opponents?
0.
That is also incorrect. But it has been twice in the last 10 games.
Mandingo.
Stephen April had it.
April right behind him. Mandigo right there. Sarah closer than both of us.
So that's a tough stretch, especially when you're on these road trips, which is like, this is the toughest part of the season for them. And, I just hope they kind of put it all together in the next couple weeks when they start to come home again, and then they'll be looking good going into the playoffs. But it's tough when the refs are. I mean, I thought that the calls tonight were pretty bad. The Cooch holding call, the Stamkos slash.
That was a fucking joke. That was a joke, dude. That was a joke.
The too many men's just a dumb mistake, but like, I don't know what it is. Ever since that Pittsburgh game, maybe I need to go back before and see what happened before that. But ever since that, the refs seem to have it out for the Lightning. So hopefully, we're just making up BS here. But
that's a good question from
seems
Sarah.
that way.
Do you know? Did you tally how many total penalties over those 10 games?
I did. So the Bolts would have had versus Pittsburgh. They had 3 penalties. Stash, do your quick math. Versus Detroit, 2. Versus Chicago, 3. Versus Winnipeg, 4. Versus the Rangers, 6. Versus Calgary, 4. Versus Vancouver, 2. Versus Seattle, 5. Versus the Rangers, again, 6. And then tonight versus Carolina, 3.
38.
That's a lot of fucking penalties in 10 games.
Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, 38. We both had 38 right away. So it's totally, that's insane.
it's tough to win games like that. And again, not to beat on a dead horse here, but like you're bringing in 2 new guys to the penalty kill. So hopefully they can pick up things fast before the playoffs, because if the power play is playing like it is now and the penalty kill is playing like it is now, we're toast in the playoffs. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I will say one thing, and that is that I said this last night when we were on the Sports Web with Peter Blake, because I think that now we're kind of getting back to the East Coast, back to our guys, back to our regular refs. And I think that, that you have, just like in any other professional sport, you have teams that referee together or umpire or whatever together, right? So we kind of made the rounds out west, and I think those groups kind of wanted to get their shots. They'd be like, hey, don't treat our guy like that. We'll show you. Now we're kind of back to the East Coast. I think we're back to the referees that know us a little bit more. Probably seeing guys that, okay, Coop, you got yours. Now we're, you know what I mean? I think that we've kind of gone through that cycle. I'm hoping anyways. I'm hoping that they've done their thing, because we all know after, was it 2 seasons ago, the scandal about the referees that were clearly showing bias about, oh, yeah, we might as well even it up and make this call, right? Yeah, it was only 2 seasons ago that came out. So if you're going to tell me that was an isolated incident, I'm going to tell you you're fucking dumb. And sorry, it's been a long night, but I'm going to tell you you're probably not using all of your brain cells there. And that's hilarious.
She messaged me.
She
messaged me right away after she got put in Facebook jail. And
Sarah Beardall here in the chat, one of our amazing fans, she says, I caught a trip to Facebook jail for saying that I hope Wes hit his shin on the bed frame the day after he ejected Coop. Wow.
You can go to Facebook jail for that?
That was in the softest shit. You know what? That's appropriate, right? That's appropriate. That's like all of our guys going to the box.
That's 2 minutes to the box, Sarah.
That's 2 minutes for Stamkos for slashing right there. That's as soft as that is. Wow. Thank you so much, Sarah, for completely being a great parallel to what we see in the NHL with our refereeing. But yeah, I really think that we've kind of run that gamut. Referees are going to insert themselves to a certain point, but in the end, they are guys that they benefit from a good game, right? They're gonna lose money if they're not calling it the right way in the long run. Like we all know the NHL doesn't hold their referees to task as well as they should, but they won't get picked for playoffs and all that shit. You know what I mean? So eventually they got to start calling it right again. And I think that here on this next swing, and especially once we get some home games here coming into April, we'll definitely start seeing a little bit more even calls from the referees. Not 100%, because we are still, again, the team that nobody wants to win 3 in a row. The NHL never wants a Florida team to win 3 cups in a row, but we'll at least start seeing a little bit more like we did pre-number 4 shenanigans. I said, dude, we have to make that shirt. Number 1 bullshit, number 4 shenanigans. No,
done.
Maybe that doesn't work. That's not as cool as I thought it was. It doesn't sound as cool when I said it as it when I had it in my brain.
All right, final thoughts. I got to go to bed. I'm tired.
Saturday, watch party, 12 o'clock, Butters Burgers, downtown. Be there. Lots of tickets given away. Signed pucks. Cool people.
Shampoo! And conditioner.
It gets a hair silky and smooth. Score! What do you got, Schoolie?
Episode 99 next Tuesday's the rematch of Carolina will be number 100.
100.
So, there's been a lot of people that have been with us for quite a while. I know since I've joined the show. So if you can make it out on Saturday, come out and see us Saturday. If not, definitely tune in next Tuesday for our 100th show. I was just looking, the Lightning plane's been delayed out of Carolina to Boston. So not sure why, but it was supposed to
5 minutes for fighting.
It was supposed to leave at 10:30 and it didn't.
Must be a referee flying that plane.
So right now they're playing still sitting in Raleigh, so they're delayed going to Boston. So on to Boston. Hopefully we take the W there. I think they need to get back in the win column. Got Detroit coming up after that. That's definitely a winnable game. So
this Boston game's big, man, because again, here we are, another loss to a playoff team, right?
Right.
And Boston's catching up to us in the standings.
Yep.
We need to get back into the winning road trips.
We need to start munching points again because they have not been. We have not been playing Pac-Man. The Bulls need to get back.
Boston, Detroit, and the Islands, and Detroit and the Islanders are back to back, so it's gonna be interesting. I personally would put Bassey against Detroit for our watch party there. Only because you need the points and you need a win for these guys. And then put Moose in against Islanders because that's going to be a 2:00 game. So that's going to be a quick turnaround also. And then back home for Carolina, which I believe might be Pride Night coming back next Tuesday. It was really cool seeing a lot of times the opposing teams don't participate in the other team's Pride Night, but I've been looking on Twitter and a lot of our guys participated in their Pride Night in Carolina today. So kudos to them.
That's awesome. Oh, and also, who was it? Was it April that was saying earlier in the show that there might be a little bit of heavy parking on Saturday because the event's going on in Ybor for Pride that day. Mm-hmm. So probably not heavy parking, but maybe a little bit of extra people parking downtown and, walking or taking the trolley to Ybor. So
yeah, there's plenty of parking.
There's plenty of parking downtown, especially right there. Yeah, especially on midday Saturday. And Butters Burgers is right by the garage for TVPAC, and there's a surface parking lot right next to it. So,
and if you can't parallel park and you need to, the stash will go and pick up your car and actually put it in the spot. So.
I am a giant. I guess that's the illusion there.
And that's your warning if you've never seen us. Thomas and I, regular sized people. Stash, not regular sized.
Yes. Once again, the PSA is out there one more time for everybody that will be there in person at the watch party. I am a giant. Do not.
People usually say meet up at the flagpole or something. Yes, we just say meet up at the stash.
Is it the mustache? Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
All right. Hopefully, we'll see a lot of you folks on Saturday. And if not, we'll see you for episode 100. We'll have some fun and games planned for that one for sure. And hopefully,
one more time, shout out to Mandingo, Steve Mandingo.
Yes, thank you.
Live on the show, donating 3 tickets to a future show as well. Sarah coming in, stashed the skyscraper late. I love it. No longer a giant, now a skyscraper downtown. The latest edition of the Tampa Skyline, ladies and gentlemen. That's
real quick. Steve gives out those tickets all the time on Thunderbolts. His job takes him all over. He was just in Alaska and missed the last two or three home games and donated them all to Thunderbolts members. So if you're not
for a birthday present for a little stash,
if you're not part of Thunderbolts, join Thunderbolts. We give away tickets all the time. I give away my seats when I can't go, and Steve always donates his also. So, and even his are nice seats. His is in 129, and he'll even when I'm going, he'll say, "Go sit in my seats," and I'm like, "No, I want someone to experience that." My old section used to be 128, so I've been down there. I like other people to experience that, especially the generosity of someone like Steve that donates them so often. So, He was in Alaska last couple home games. Sending me pictures from him and feet of snow. So
this ain't the time of year to be up there.
No.
So, all right, Shitter, get us out of here, man.
Yes, thank you,
112,
Steve.
by the way.
112.
112. That's like middle.
No, it's corner.
That's right. Oh, it's corner. Oh, that is corner. That's right. That's corner.
Row H. There you go.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, thanks you, Steve.
Again,
thank
Steve.
you. Thanks, everyone in the chat tonight, and thank you to the poor podcast listeners who just listened to the audio version of this. Make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're watching, and until next time, this has been We the Thunder. Don't forget to be the Thunder.
That's it?